Hey game developers, designers, pixel artists, and anyone just interested in game development. It's been a bit since I made a dedicated devlog for my game Muster. Now I do have some excuses, maybe not great ones. Check out some of my recent life update videos for more info on that, but I'm here to pose the question, how much iteration and redesigning is too much? And hopefully by the end, we will be able to answer that question or at least have a better perspective. I also made a Discord for the channel, so please hop in there if you are interested in talking about game development, tech, software engineering, or general college and career advice. You can find the invite link in the description below. This video is sponsored by SNHU, but more on that in a bit. It's been about a year since I started my game dev journey, and I can for sure say it's been an immense learning experience, and I'm still learning so much all the time. But down to the actual meat and potatoes. So I've been doing a lot of random stuff in the game, some of which is productive, other stuff maybe not so much. So you understand how much I jumped around, here are the updates chronologically since my last proper devlog from my GitHub. First, I added a Stardew Valley type fishing minigame. I mentioned in previous devlogs that as a part of recruiting soldiers for your army, I wanted a variety of games instead of just slaying monsters. I also added a healer role that will try to heal nearby allies in battle, and there still needs to be some work on that front. I then decided to pivot and worked on a procedural generator for dungeons. Shout out Sunny Valley Studio for the tutorial. My thought was that along the same lines as the fishing minigame, spelunking into dungeons would be a fun way of progressing your army and player power. So I got the foundations, but again, still needs a lot of work. And continuing on the trend of hopping around between functionality a lot, I randomly got the urge to try and improve the movement system I was using. So up until now, I was primarily just using an A-star pathfinding library with custom behavior. For those not familiar, A-star pathfinding is basically just a pathfinding algorithm that can analyze colliders on a map and find the most optimal route around them to get to a certain destination. And this worked for the most part, but felt sort of robotic, as basically all of the NPCs knew exactly the best route to get to its target from anywhere, which in combat doesn't really feel or look natural. So again, I saw another video from Sunny Valley Studio, absolute shout out to that legend where he implements context steering, so I followed along with him and integrated that functionality into my movement system. And context steering, for context, basically is just using weights to suggest a direction for an NPC to move in. So if there's a collider in one direction, that weight is way less, and thus the NPC is less likely to choose to move in that direction. Now this felt way more fluid and natural in combat, but felt sort of weird and cumbersome for when it came to non-combat movement, like patrolling between points or just meandering around. So I decided to integrate the two, both A-star pathfinding and context steering, into a giga pathfinding functionality. Basically, when the NPC is engaged in combat, it will dynamically switch to using context steering to move towards its target, but when it's not in combat, it will utilize the A-star pathfinding algorithm so that it's able to get back to its original position and default movement behavior. And all of this implementation did take quite a while and a lot of headache. Then I realized I hadn't done one of the most basic parts of pretty much every game, an inventory. So I began working on an inventory system and collectible items. For now, I have the quick bar inventory type of solution working, but still need to finish up kind of the full backpack view. In addition to all of these features, I had a bunch of minor back-end improvements in the quest architecture, UI, etc. And then I was like, hold up, I'm jumping around too much. I went from a fishing minigame to healers to dungeon generation to pathfinding to inventory, all within like a 1 to 2 month span. So I sat down and actually made a Trello board to track what are the immediate things that I want to work on. And one epiphany I had was that I've been trying to make this big map type style work, but something about it sort of feels off. I reduced the map size in a previous video, but here is map reduction iteration 2 electric boogaloo, but instead of one map, multiply it by 3 or 4, or however many I can do. So instead of just having one map where you fight a battle at the end and it's done, my plan is to have multiple maps in a random order, almost like my original idea in my first few devlogs, but instead of all at once or kind of combined areas into one big map, they are all at different times. So once the time runs out on one stage, you will fight the army associated with that zone. This might be sort of confusing, or I'm just kind of bad at explaining kind of what my idea is, is, but as an example, let's say you're in your first rotation and you get the skeleton faction within the skeleton zone, or skeleton theme type zone, a creepy zone, something like that. Now, you decide that you don't really want to help the skeletons, so you go into some dungeons, you get some gear, you find some miners to help you out, you go into town, you hire some mercenaries. Now the timer is up. And since you really didn't help out those skelly boys really that much, they're gonna come at you with their full force. So you fight the battle, you beat them, and you move on to, say, the farmer zone. Now, you like the farmers, so you decide to do quests for them and gather some resources, donate money, all that kind of good stuff. A few farmers decide to join you, and your reputation with them kind of increases, and the timer is up again, and the battle starts. But now, only a few farmers are willing to fight against you, and so on. I think this system adds a lot of replayability and is much easier in terms of expansion. I can simply add new stages instead of having to add a whole new awkwardly placed section on a large map. Since you're watching this devlog, you may have thought about actually creating your own game. Maybe some strategy RPG type game like me, or maybe a puzzle platformer like Game Maker's Toolkit, or some silly type FPS like Danny. Well, that's where this video sponsor can help, Southern New Hampshire University. SNHU has one of the largest accredited nonprofit online degree offerings in the whole country. They feature over 200 degree programs focused on getting you started or advancing in a career that you'll love. For my aspiring game developers and designers, you should check out SNHU's Game Development Program. In this program, you'll learn how to create realistic, dynamic gameplay experiences with game AI, physics, and 2D and 3D graphics. And you'll learn some of the most common game development programming languages like C++, C#, and Java. Courses are taught by industry experts who will teach you how to research, develop, and contribute to the advances and trends within the field of game programming. All of SNHU's programs are extremely flexible. There are no set class times, allowing you to work when and where you want. And if you already have college credits, you don't have to start over. SNHU will let you transfer up to 90 credits towards your bachelor's degree and up to 12 credits towards your master's degree. So if you want to make the switch to a career in game dev, go to snhu.edu/Marcella. The link is in the description. Thank you to SNHU for supporting the channel. So ultimately, how much iteration is too much iteration? Well, enough to where you forgot to implement an inventory system basically a year into development. But I'm gonna use the excuse that I've also been learning this entire time, so it's kind of an upside, I guess, in that sort of perspective. And so those are all of the main updates. Let me know what you guys think of this devlog. Again, I'm sorry it took so long to put out. Please comment down below thoughts or suggestions you have about the game or just game dev in general. Also, shout out again to join the new Discord server for some fun stuff we might do there, and check out all my socials in the description below. Thank you guys so much for sticking to the end and watching the video. Thank you to SNHU for supporting the channel. You can find all of the information for their programs in the description below with my link. Give your boy a like to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. Leave any comments for game dev tips or suggestions you have for the game. Also consider joining the Discord, which you can also find in the description below. My name is Michael. We do bad British accents, even when we're congested at the end of every video. Check out one of my past videos and my past self would thank you dearly, and check out one of my future videos and my future self would also thank you dearly. That's all from me. Hopefully I see you in another one. Bye bye.